Have you ever felt like something dark is still tethered to your life, even after every cleansing ritual you tried? Do certain energies keep returning, no matter how many candles you burn, baths you take, or sigils you draw? What if I told you there are ritual disciplines so ancient and forbidden that when performed correctly, they don't just banish spirits, they shut the gateways they came through permanently? Today, in the occult triangle, I'll reveal 4 powerful disciplines witches, alchemists, and ceremonial magicians have used for centuries to cast out lingering spiritual forces and keep them from returning. These are not casual rites. These are sorceress-level weapons. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Occult Triangle, where ancient power meets modern seekers. Your initiation starts here. There is a kind of spiritual starvation that drives dark spirits into panic. This is not about skipping meals. It is about denying the invisible feeders that parasitic spirits depend on. These entities cling to indulgence, overconsumption, overstimulation, emotional chaos. When a sorceress enters the ritual of starvation, she is not simply abstaining from food. She is shutting off supply lines to the enemy. By retreating from physical cravings while anchoring herself in sacred silence and planetary symbols, especially Saturn and the moon, the practitioner makes her aura inhospitable to intruding energies. The hunger becomes sacred, a furnace that burns through attachments. In this altered state, the spiritual body sharpens, and with it, the ability to detect and eject energies that were once hidden in pleasure. Parasites that hid in comfort begin to squirm. They cannot stay where no emotional residue is left to consume. This discipline is especially effective when performed during waning moons, and should always be accompanied by intentioned breathwork and elemental grounding. When you starve the spirit's enemy, you feed your own power. There is a form of starvation not for the body, but for the astral parasites that feed through your senses. In occult tradition, this is known as ritual denial, where the practitioner willingly closes every gate that allows a spirit to feed. These spirits are not sustained by food alone. They feed on indulgence, on your lack of control, on every act of mindless consumption. The ritual of starvation is not a diet. It is an act of warfare. You are not simply refraining from meals. You are severing ties to frequencies that entities use to latch onto your field. By fasting within a sacred circle, marked by planetary seals and reinforced by incense aligned to Saturn or Luna, you invoke a shield of spiritual fire. In the silence of hunger, the spirit awakens. The body, stripped of its comforts, becomes a vessel of raw will. And as the flesh weakens, the invaders surface. Some appear in dreams, others manifest through irritability, resistance, sudden temptations. These are not signs of failure. They are proof that something dark is being uprooted. This ritual is best performed during the waning moon, when the energies naturally flow toward banishment and decay. Every hour you persist, the spirit loses grip. The key is not just abstinence, but focused awareness, sacred intention, and anchoring your essence in sovereignty. In the realm of ceremonial magic, sound is not just vibration, it is a weapon. When paired with fire, it becomes a force that spirits of darkness cannot withstand. The evocation through sacred chanting and devotional flame is an ancient discipline where the voice becomes a blade, and the flame a gate through which divine intelligences descend. This ritual begins by anointing the space with consecrated oils or incense derived from planetary correspondences. Frankincense for solar clarity, myrrh for lunar depth, or storax for Saturnian banishment. As the flame is lit, the practitioner begins the chant, not sung for beauty but intoned with will. Names of power, angelic formulas, and divine barbarous words are repeated in rhythm. Each syllable breaks chains, each breath pushes back the veil. Entities attached to the practitioner's aura grow restless. They cannot remain where the divine name is exalted through will-driven vibration. Unlike simple prayer, this chanting is a summoning, an invitation to the higher forces that burn through astral impurities. The flame serves as a visual anchor, a beacon for spiritual allies, and a torment to all that is unclean. Devotional flame rituals are especially potent during solar hours or planetary alignments. When done correctly, even the most persistent shadow beings will flee before the chant ends. To the uninitiated, praise may seem like an act of worship. But in occult practice, praise is alignment, a declaration of harmony with the elemental forces that sustain all creation. The ritual of praise to elemental guardians is not about pleading for favor. It is about awakening the sovereign forces within fire, water, earth, air, and spirit to cleanse your sphere and fortify your temple. This ritual begins in sacred space, preferably outdoors or in a place where the four elements can be invoked visibly and tangibly. Salted earth at your feet, flame before you, a bowl of living water nearby, incense rising skyward. With each invocation, you honor the elemental kings and queens, calling upon their ancient names. These guardians do not respond to desperation, they respond to respect, balance, and resonance. As you praise them with chant, movement, or offering, your energetic field is recalibrated. Parasites and attachments that hide in imbalance begin to recoil. They thrive in distortion, but the elements restore order. When fire is honored, your will is reignited. When water is invoked, your emotional currents are purified. Air clears the mind, earth grounds the soul, and spirit binds all in harmony. In this state of equilibrium, dark spirits cannot anchor themselves. They are forced to detach. Few practitioners realize the raw power of praise when it is not directed upward but outward and inward simultaneously. It is not flattery, it is recognition. And in recognition, the guardians awaken. There is a deeper fast than food, a severance more profound than hunger. It is the baneful fast, a sacred act of retreat from the very architecture of the modern world. In this fast, the practitioner withdraws not only from physical indulgences but from every distraction designed to dilute the spirit's fire. No music, no screens, no idle talk, no fleshly indulgence, no ambient comfort. The practitioner does not simply abstain. They vanish from the frequency that sustains the spirits of chaos. During the baneful fast, one steps out of the current that feeds astral predators. These entities do not just feed on sin. They feed on overstimulation, disordered thoughts, synthetic pleasure, and mental noise. They hide in your scrolls, your background music, your notifications, your shallow conversations. But when silence descends, their camouflage falls away, they panic, they flinch. You become invisible to their mechanisms and unbearable to their presence. This discipline must be entered with clear boundaries, timed withdrawal, journaled insights, and environmental purification. It is best performed during dark moon phases, eclipses, or planetary retrogrades. The purpose is not punishment. It is possession of the self. Only in absence can true presence emerge. And when the noise is stripped away, your inner voice rises like a storm. Most demons are not exorcised. They are starved. And the baneful fast is how they die screaming. There are hours of the night when the veil thins, and the world forgets to watch. Between 2:30 and 4 a.m., the lunar threshold, the silence ritual becomes a weapon of terrifying precision. In these hours, speech is forbidden. Thought is focused, movement is intentional. You do not pray, you do not chant, you listen. And in the listening, entities are unmasked. This ritual requires absolute stillness. The room must be dark, save for one dim flame or lunar reflective bowl. Chalk, ash, or salt is used to mark a sigil of your choosing, ideally a binding or revealing symbol drawn under the waning or balsamic moon. You sit within it, spine erect, breath slow, gaze soft. For 1 hour, no sound is permitted, not even whisper. No requests are made. Instead, you watch. You wait. The silence is not empty. It is bait. Spirits that hide in constant mental noise begin to stir. When the conscious mind is quiet, their patterns become visible. Many will manifest as sudden intrusive thoughts, flashes of imagery, or bodily tension. This is not failure. It is evidence of presence. Maintaining the silence weakens their grip. By refusing reaction, you deny them influence. When repeated over 7 consecutive nights, this ritual will purge entities that have nested themselves in your subconscious for years. It is not confrontation. It is domination through stillness, and in stillness the true sorceress becomes terrifying. The most feared offering in the occult is not blood, it is personal comfort. The sacrifice of familiar indulgences is a ritual, discipline that severs the cords binding you to your own shadow, because what feeds the shadow isn't darkness itself, but what you refuse to surrender. In this ritual, the practitioner chooses something beloved, a scent, a behavior, an object, a person, or even a version of themselves, and offers it upon the altar of transformation. This is not symbolic, it is literal. You remove it, you bury it, you burn it, you renounce it, and in that act, a door closes behind you forever. These indulgences are not random. They are often comfort zones that anchor spirit attachments. A favorite vice that opens gateways during trance, a toxic connection that loops karmic agreements, or even a false identity that masks your true vibration. Once you let them go, the entities tied to them lose legal ground. Perform this ritual under a waning moon, preferably in solitude. Write the name of the indulgence on parchment. Charge it with memory. Speak its role in your life aloud. Then release. By fire, earth, or water. Afterward, remain in silence, let the emptiness settle in. Something is leaving you, but something greater is preparing to arrive. The darkness cannot follow where your former self no longer lives. Some spirits cannot be expelled. They must be mirrored back into themselves. The ritual of reversal under. Fire and mirror is a potent technique where the practitioner no longer resists, begs, or pleads. Instead, they reflect the intruder's essence, forcing it to confront its own distortion. This ritual requires 2 main tools, a black scrying mirror and an open flame, often a fire bowl with protective herbs like rue, bay, or wormwood. The mirror is placed behind or beside the flame, angled so that your reflection blurs into shadow. The ritual begins not with incantation, but with silence and observation. As you focus on the flame, your breath aligns with your heartbeat. Your gaze moves to the mirror, not looking for form, but for movement. In this liminal trance, the spirit's tether to your energy is revealed. You may feel nausea, temperature shifts, flickering thoughts that don't belong to you. Now speak its name, if known, or speak directly to its function. What binds you ends now. You do not yell. You do not plead. You declare. The mirror, charged by fire and intention, becomes hostile to the spirit. It cannot linger where it is fully seen. This ritual must always be closed with an offering to your guardian force and a physical cleansing, salt bath, earth contact, or lunar water wash. Otherwise, the echo of reversal may linger. What you reflect, you reject. What you reveal, you banish. Not all spirits come from outside. Some ride the veins of bloodlines, ancestral echoes twisted by pain, secrecy, and forgotten pacts. The ancestral. Deal prayer with earth. Offering is a sacred rite to identify and release the shadow that does not belong to you, but was passed to you. Begin by preparing an outdoor space or a sacred container filled with consecrated soil. This soil will become the vessel of release. Into it, you place tokens of ancestral memory, a lock of your own hair, crushed herbs like mugwort and vervain, and a handwritten petition of surrender, declaring what generational burden you will no longer carry. At the base of the moon's descent, ideally the dark moon, you kneel before the earth and speak aloud the ancestral veil prayer, not a chant but a command layered with reverence. You call upon the light-bearing ancestors, those who seek your liberation, not the ones who passed the wound. As you speak, you press the offering into the earth, cover it, pour water upon it, then sit, breathe, listen. Many practitioners report trembling, visions, sudden emotional release. These are signs that the cord is severing. The spirit no longer has access through the ancestral gate you've sealed. End the rite with stillness, or by placing your hand on the ground and whispering, "The blood remembers peace." The past does not own you, but if unspoken, it rules you. You cannot banish what you refuse to see. The sight ritual is a disciplined unveiling, a deliberate act of piercing the veil to reveal what's been manipulating you from the shadows. In this rite, clarity becomes the sword, and awareness becomes your shield. Begin in isolation. Burn mugwort, angelica, and a pinch of black salt in a controlled flame. Surround your body with hand-drawn sigils of protection and vision, symbols known only to you or channeled through trance. Sit cross-legged or reclined, with your eyes half closed and unfocused. The goal is not to imagine, but to receive. As the smoke rises, recite your intention aloud. I invite no spirit. I summon no being. I only demand to see what has been hiding. Within minutes, flickers will come. Shadows that don't match the room, images with emotional weight, symbols unfamiliar but undeniable. These are not hallucinations. They are the language of the unseen. Do not chase them. Let them form. Record them after the ritual, but do not speak of them immediately. The more you acknowledge what you've seen, the less power it holds over you. Darkness feeds on confusion, but when exposed, it recoils. This ritual should be done under a waxing crescent, moon, when vision grows. And always seal it with grounding, earth touch, water on the forehead, or a drop of oil to the third eye. When the veil breaks, you do not fear demons. They fear being noticed. Every ritual must end with a seal, a closing act that marks the point of no return. The final seal is not a suggestion. It is a declaration of dominion spoken aloud, witnessed by the flame, and etched in a sigil of blood or red pigment intention. This is how you say, "You cannot return. The gate is shut." Begin. The practitioner draws their personal banishment sigil on parchment or consecrated stone. The pigment may be your own blood, or red ink charged with vervain and dragon's blood resin. It is not the fluid that holds power, but the sacrifice of certainty. Once marked, the sigil must never be redrawn or reused. With the sigil before, you light a single flame. No incense, no distractions, just the sound of your voice and the fire's breath. Speak your final words of authority, firm, low, and slow. Address not a specific spirit, but any force without permission lingering in your field. Example: by this seal and this will, I close what was opened. Let what entered be expelled. Let what clung be cast out. No voice but mine rules here now. Burn the sigil, or bury it in salted soil. When the act is complete, do not speak for 1 full hour. The silence becomes sacred, an echo that cements the banishment across realms. Many spirits leave during rituals, but they only stay gone when the door is sealed. This is the final step. This is sovereignty. You are no longer haunted. You are the keeper of the gate.